Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Scott Knight. This is Doncho Andoff, and this is the 413 podcast. So, let's talk a bit about
You can
ourselves.
also introduce me as, you can also introduce me as Don Cheese.
I just
Yeah.
never understand why you always you just really like cheese, don't you?
Yeah, as I'm a cheesy person. Quite proven.
My name's Scott, as I've already said. So we're two best mates, and we thought, you know what, as we're in lockdown and time is coming close to end of lockdown, why not do a podcast?
Conversation about everything. Anything.
Yeah, so this podcast is just pretty much we talk about everything and anything that we feel like we're talking about. And yes, my background is my messy room. It is half the stuff in the
background is my.
half the stuff in my background is not mine. It is my brother's. So fun. Okay, so what's our first topic today? What are we going to talk about?
Well, we are going to play Yu-Gi-Oh, yes?
Yes, that's another thing about this podcast. We'll end up playing Yu-Gi-Oh some point during the podcast. So you're just going to be literally listening to us playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be talking about stuff anyway. It's just like a friendly conversation with two people, and then you can watch us be crap at Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh yeah, and probably so many listeners will probably whoever plays Yu-Gi-Oh will probably see us playing it completely wrong, and will really,
I can
dislike.
I can imagine.
Probably shouting at us through the screen. That's not how you play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Well,
so how's
we
your
were playing
lockdown
Yu-Gi-Oh for a period. It's been quite all right, you know. I wanted to speak about how time during lockdown is for people, because you know some people have it hard, but because obviously you're locked inside, not doing much, and you're going through phases. Well, not phases, but you're going through a lot of emotions. But also, there's like good stuff that come out of lockdown, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, I think like the more time, like for me personally, the more time I've had on my own is like the more time I've had to work on my own stuff. Because I remember and to do stuff that I wanted to. You like you said, you started coloring some stuff and talking with more people. Yeah,
Yeah, because before this lockdown, I really wouldn't talk to many people. You know, I'd be so by myself, and I wouldn't really want to talk to anyone. And now I've been talking to people. It's been a really roller coaster for me and my family, really, being honest. Like my dad going through what he went through. It's a very big struggle for our family, and like in a couple of days' time, I'm actually leaving the house to go further than the shops for the first time in 4 months, and it's a big experience, you know. I feel what a lot of people are feeling, like it's the nerves. It's really unsettling because with everything you hear, everything on social media, like you've got to keep yourself a meter apart, and it gets to that point where you're like, it makes you scared to go outside.
Yeah.
Like for a while, I was scared of going outside because I was like, my dad is a patient of who's just had cancer, who actually has cancer at the moment, unfortunately, and he is a vulnerable patient, so he can't go outside, and it's one of them scary situations where it's everywhere. Like if unfortunately there's nowhere you can go that doesn't have the big. I'm not going to call it the big C. I'm going to call it the low C. And it's everywhere you go. It's unfortunately going to be there, and it's the fear, you know, that I understand. Like, but people say, "Oh, people don't understand the fear and everything," and most people do understand the fear because everyone is afraid of it because it's something that we don't know, something that we haven't come across before.
Very unexpected, isn't it?
It's very unexpected.
But at the same time, I find it quite ironic how a lot of people started caring less about Corona the more it's been around, but it's still the same threat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. Like where I live in a small parish town, and when it first kicked off, everyone was just no one was out on the street. Everyone was just trying to stay away from it. And as the months have gone past, like the first month, the second month, and it's got to like now, where I go to my local.
First month, there was barely. Isn't it?
Like, I remember going to college, like when it hit, and like the first cases were coming over, and like when I went in, there was like no one there, and I was just like, I thought I'd woken up into a zombie apocalypse film. I thought I'd woken up into the film 28 Days Later. I was like, oh, when's the horde coming running through that door to come after me? But no, when I got in, people were like, oh, people not coming in. They're too scared to come in, and I'm just like, I've been hearing about it, but at the time I weren't 100% like knowledgeable.
Didn't really think it was that big of a deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, at the time it weren't such a like. When we first heard about it, it weren't such a big thing. We are, like, being honest, when I first heard about it, that was back in December. And I was just like,
first proper here in England was March, wasn't it? Or was it?
It was
February?
January. It was around, yeah, the first case over here was around January. I think it was because we went into lockdown in late February, early March.
Oh no, we were quite late in lockdown. I remember I was still going to uni February time. So March time, it was the time when we started going into lockdown.
Yeah. Because I remember, like, we first heard about it in December. We first started hearing about it, and it was all cases in China, and
stuff in China, and then it was Italy, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people were like when I was in my lessons, a lot of people were sitting there thinking, nah, it's not gonna come over here, like it won't affect us. And then January, it was a bit like people were starting to get more panicky. And then by February, people were like, okay, this is now some serious stuff. Like this is now, and then literally last days of February, beginning of March, people were like, right now, it's come over, it's hit.
Yeah,
we need to go into lockdown. And then, like, I remember because I work, as you know, but people won't know that I work at a cinema, and like, it's one of the weirdest things to go into work. Like, usually on a Saturday or Sunday, it's like the busiest days.
In the city, nowhere there.
No, literally, like, I'd go in and there'd be like maximum of 100 customers in the day, compared to usually 400 a day. Like, it gone down by like 75%, and it's just like, oh, that's a big thing. Like it's seriously impacting everyone. Like, it's not just impacting one country, it's impacting the world. And then getting told that the college is not open anymore, they're closed now. I was like, didn't really affect me as much. I was like, I've already done most of the work. And then they're like, oh yeah, now work's closed as well. And I'm like, oh, like they've closed my work as well. So it was literally a situation of, I'm not at college, I'm on furlough, not at work, I'm stuck indoors for 4 months.
It's quite lucky that people over here was able to get into furlough, isn't it? Because people in America and other places didn't really have that opportunity.
Yes, it is a big. It is a big thing. You know, the furlough scheme. It's one of them things that I've been.
I mean, I didn't really have to worry about it. Yeah,
I didn't
really have to worry about it. Job at the time, but.
No, I've been reading it up, and I've been looking at what it is, and it's a really good deal for people that have not lost, but having to go on furlough because of the virus. It's got two parts where you're fully furloughed, and the one where you do minimum hours at your work, and the government will pay the rest of it. So it's not a bad thing,
Yeah.
but the problem is that companies are still releasing people and
Oh yeah,
cutting jobs.
companies that let people go, isn't that?
Yes, they're still doing it because unfortunately it comes to that point where they can't afford to keep them on anymore, and it's a real shame, you know. Like I see so many people that I've known over the years, and they talk to me and they say to me, "Hey, yeah, I've just lost my job," and it's just like I feel so
Yeah,
bad for them
there's
because
been
you feel so bad for them because you're like, "Oh, I've got a job, but they don't anymore." But unfortunately, that's not my fault. But you still feel bad for them because at the end of the day, they had bills to pay, they had stuff to do. It's a nasty
yeah.
rotation, you know. Like it's horrible.
Yeah, coming back onto the point where we start reconnecting on with people. I actually ended up speaking to some people from college that I used to go to, and that was like 3 years ago, sort of the first year. And the guy that I spoke to actually ended up going redundant because of Corona,
Oh
and
shit.
he yeah, and obviously he didn't have any pay or anything, so he was struggling getting a job. And he
Man,
still hasn't got a job yet. So it's definitely hit people, some people hard.
that's got to be really bad. Like you're sitting there one moment having a job, and then the next, like, boom, you've got no job.
Yeah,
Man,
you
like,
can't let it get big up in the deep end.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. Like that, we've like the government's reopened a lot of sectors, so now a lot of shops are opening up, and
Yeah.
they're looking to rehire people. So hopefully, within the next 2-3 months, people will be getting back to normal life with getting jobs again and all that. But there's still the worry that companies are closing down shops and not reopening them. It's like this morning, this was weird, right? I was watching I'm on YouTube, and a news clip comes up, and it's from the Sun, and it's talking about John Lewis shutting down some stores, and it
Yeah.
talks about closing down stores in 2 stores in Birmingham, and a couple stores some other places. And I think it was Watford, and 2 stores in St Pancras and Heathrow. Do you know what was weird about that?
What?
They show video cards of Kingston's John Lewis.
Right.
And I'm sitting there thinking, are they shutting down the John Lewis in Kingston?
Maybe.
It's a weird thing. Like like I think they either got the clip wrong or
What?
they
Are they shutting down the places completely, or is it just during the coronavirus
no,
thing?
they're
Because
shutting
I'm pretty sure John Lewis is open now.
no, they're shutting down
Well, at the
stores.
moment.
They're fully shutting down these stores.
Wow.
That's what a lot of people are panicking. Like
John
a lot
Lewis
of
is a
people,
big company as well, so it's quite interesting
yeah,
as well.
they're shutting down a couple
If a big company like that's yeah,
because it's impacted.
stores shut.
It's impacted everyone. This thing. It's not like what people like. Some people say it only impacts certain people. It impacts everyone. I like people like I might not have lost a job, but I've not been able to leave my place for the last 2-3 months.
Yeah,
I've not been able to fully go out. I'm
yeah.
having to be cautious, but I still like like staying indoors and all that is not like the worst thing to ever happen. Like staying indoors, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's every
It
teenager's
is.
dream. Like not having to do anything. That's every teenager's
Yeah,
dream.
every introvert alive is having a time of their life right now.
But I do feel so
Every
sorry for the
introvert.
people that have lost
Yeah.
their jobs, that have to headhunt for jobs. So it's one
I
of
do,
them.
I do feel sorry for people in lockdown that are also stuck inside and can't move though, because I know that people do like during times like this, like depression arises quite a lot. Obviously, you got your own time to yourself.
Yes.
I've not gonna had a bit of trouble with that, but it also gives you time to work through your own problems as well, I guess. But yeah, if anyone needs any help with that, you need to call, like, talk to people.
Yeah,
because
that's what I say is that this lockdown, like the government, everyone has said, even the Samaritans, mental health charities have said that this lockdown is going to cause a big rise. That I believe the statistic is that from 30% of the population to 60% are going to suffer from some form of mental health order, such as anxiety, depression, a lot of stuff like that. And I'm going to put my hand up. I'm part of that percentage. I suffer from depression and anxiety, and I'm not going to sit here and lie about it. That's one thing I don't do. And yeah, it affects people. It's not the easiest thing to deal with, but what I say to people in the same situation that I am, that if you feel depressed, anxiety, talk to someone. Like, I know it might be difficult. It was difficult for me to first talk about how I felt. I know that Doncho, it was hard for you to talk about when you came out about it. It's one of them situations where it's not. I know people will tell you, oh, it's just like when I first went through it, people were just saying it's hormones, it's just teenagerhood and all that. But if you feel that way, don't sit there and let people tell you what it is. Like, people say, oh, it's just that.
I mean, it does play a big part in it.
It does.
However, you can't. There is obviously the big danger of becoming depressed, and obviously all the bad thoughts and such, and going through the bad experiences, especially in lockdown where you're alone in a room and you can't really go outside and do anything to relieve all the stress that's going into your mind. And especially because we're like very social creatures, and at a time like this, where we can't actually meet with people, it's important to keep connections with people because it helps you keep your mind healthy.
It does,
very much.
Like, me and you have been chatting pretty much nearly every day for the last month and a half.
And that was the other thing. It's actually lockdown was quite good for reconnecting with people. Like me and you hadn't spoken for a very long time since before lockdown. We actually ended up chatting quite a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't speak for quite a while. Like, it'd been a while. It was a long while, and then we just started chatting and we started hanging out via Messenger, just video chatting each other, and just been talking and chatting. And that's the best thing, is it's just the calmness. It's not just not just saying hi to someone. It's what I say is that if you haven't talked to someone in a while, give them a text, like, say hi. Like, it doesn't matter how long it's been. Like, if you haven't talked to someone in 5 years, just send them a text saying hi. Like, how are you? Like, they're not going to sit there going, who this? Like, they know who you are. That's what I find funny about, like,
especially if you've had a good connection with them in the past, of course, because it's something that some people don't really like. They lose connections with people that they've had quite close to them. But it's because they don't really reach out to them. I know it'll be good for them to reach out to you, but they're probably feeling the same anxiety you do in reaching out to them. So
I know, it's one of the things.
There's no harm in trying, isn't it?
It's true, 100% true. Like, it works both ways. The anxiety works both ways. Like, if you haven't talked to someone in a while, it's like it's always the same question. Who goes first? Like, who will go first? Who will open the conversation? Human nature is always like that, especially when you're anxious. It's like you prefer wait for the other person to do it, but at the same time, the other person will wait for you to do it. It's always that weird, like, circle.
At the end of the day, it's better to get it over and done with.
It is, really. At the end of the day, it's a lot better to get it over and done with. True,
Yeah.
100% true. Like, so what have you been really doing during your lockdown? Like, I know we've talked about it, like, not on camera or everything, but so what have you been really up to?
Um, I mean, it's actually provided some opportunities for me to like learn new things. Like I've actually started picking up bass, which I've never thought I would. Like playing bass. And um, I started working out more, exercising. Actually, it gave me opportunity to look a lot on my own, like of what I can improve on my own,
Mm.
by myself thing. And I kind of, in a way, I'm glad a little in a it, like I'm low key glad that I was in lockdown, because it gave me that opportunity to look upon myself, because I don't think I would have otherwise. Because you get so caught up in life that you don't really sit there and look at what's going on around you or yourself. Even you're just paying attention at life and how to get to the next day, sort of thing.
Mm.
But with everything going down to a standstill at the moment, it's the perfect time, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much given like it's a really bad situation, but you have to take the good out of the bad to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the good we can take out of this really is that if you've got like, let's say you have family at home, like if you're not all alone, you have family at home, it gives you time, to
Yeah.
actually reconnect with your family. Because most of the time, like when I was before this lockdown, I was 95% out of the house. I was never usually at home. I was either at work or college, or
Yeah.
before January, I was with my ex, and I'd be out all the time and everything. But now since the lockdown, like I've spent more time with my family. Yeah, we get on each other's nerves, but that's families for you. But it's given us a bit of a laugh. We've had time where we can laugh, watch films. Like it's the times where we can sit and chat and just get back to the part where, like, when I was a kid, like where everything weren't as like it is now as adults, where you'd have to run around and worry about paying bills and getting education. It'd be a time where you could just sit with family and just talk about random, and I mean random stuff. Like I remember a conversation, I think it was a week ago, where we were talking about marshmallows and why pink was better than white marshmallows. And it was the most randomest conversation we had. And it's just, them type of conversations that you love. Like, you forget what life is for a moment and just sit in your own little bubble.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you have this one conversation that you just sort of just pay attention to that and the person you're with, and then you just forget about everything else. And you even with like conversations like that, you get to know the person better as well. And even if you think you know your family, sort of thing, but like, let's face it, how well do you know your mum or your dad on a personal level? So I know a lot of people have good connections, but also a lot of people don't have that good connection with their family. So it is a good opportunity to do so as well.
It is.
Actually, in fact, my dad had a conversation about how it is still a law that you cannot walk around London holding a salmon suspiciously.
Wait, what? Is that actually true?
That is very true, yes. If you walk around London with a salmon in a suspicious manner, you can get arrested. It's an act passed in in the 1800s, I think.
Like, I know London has some weird laws. It's like,
to be taken out to this day.
do you know apparently there's a law where you can actually walk around? I think it is. Where is it? I think it's Buckingham Palace, where you can actually walk around Buckingham Palace, outside Buckingham Palace, wearing a full set of armor, and it's not against the law.
Oh. No. There's a thing. You can do that, but if you go inside Buckingham Palace with an armor suit, the police have authority to chop your head off.
Yes, I heard about that one, and that is just weird. It's like, even in the UK, like, a lot of people say, "Oh, we're posh and all that." We have some
ridiculous laws.
We have some ridiculous laws. It's like, I know somewhere. I think somewhere near York, there's a law where you can still challenge someone to a duel for their daughter's hand.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, you
Man,
basically
those are some real sins.
it's just like you're like that's 1800s. You're like, that's a long time ago. It's like, I think they should update that, but a lot of the laws over here haven't been updated. It's like I could go on, like, let me have a look. Let me have a quick look. See some ridiculous laws. Like there is so many ridiculous laws. But so let's talk about
Probably sprinkle a bit for a bit of fun.
let's just talk a little bit more about you, Doncho, shall we? So you're from Bulgaria.
About me. Yeah,
So how does it
that is true.
like how does it feel, right? How did you feel when you first came from Bulgaria to England? How did you feel?
Uh, that's an interesting question, you know, because I mean, it at first is overwhelming at first, but it's very because I knew I was like moving to like stay here rather than just visiting. That was the most overwhelming part because it was basically changing my whole like before then. Because I moved here when I was 11. Before then, all I knew as a kid was Bulgaria. When I moved here, everything was so different.
Like,
but also being a kid, it like sparked my curiosity because I liked seeing all the new things and interacting with like loads of different people. Like for instance, here, like there's quite a big difference in cultures here, especially where I moved in London, in southeast London wise. There's a lot of different cultures mixed in all together in one bunch, and I liked the whole interaction, meeting new people and all that. It was a good challenge, I think. Like moving, I think a lot can agree. It's not. It can be hard for some people, but it can be quite a good experience.
Yeah, because when you move from somewhere, like you've grown up and you move somewhere new, either a new town, a new state, a new country, or halfway across the world, it's always like when you're a kid, it's like the first thing you do is you're like, so what's new? What can I discover? Like when I was a kid, because I used to live about 13 miles from where I live now. It's not that far, but I lived where I lived for until I was 8 years old, so I knew the area pretty well. Then I moved here, and it was a complete new environment. I mean, I used to live in a nice house. I used to be a two-story house. I used to have a nice wide back garden. I used to have a lot of garden and now, like compared to where I live now, I live in a two-bedroom flat with a concrete garden. I mean, like shared below us is a charity shop. Like you sit and think, okay, it's a new environment. But when I was a kid, I weren't thinking, oh, this is what it is. I was thinking, okay, what's around this corner? What's down here? What's across here? Like I explored, like you explored. I'd go out and I'd meet new people.
It's very. I think it's very weird how our mentality changes from kids into adults. Of like when new things come our way. Like as an adult now, if something new comes in my way, I would be more cautious about it rather than just diving straight into it. But as a kid, you don't really think about it because you don't really worry that much.
Yeah, because when you're a kid, like you've got the mentality of like you don't really care. Like at the end of the day, you like being honest. When you're a kid, you don't think you know that you don't think about.
You're a kid. All you want to do is fun.
You don't think about the concept of like death or anything when you're a kid. You're like, oh well, it's fun, and you just go and explore. Like you do the craziest stuff. Like when I was a kid, I used to do the craziest stuff. Like I used to roll downstairs. Like I used to go down the stairs like butt first. Like I'd just go straight down. Like when you're a kid, you do stupid stuff. Like you don't sit there and expect you don't sit there and be like, right, that's
Tell you what,
dangerous.
tell you what we did as a kid when I was in Bulgaria. So near the house where I used to live, we had like a massive hill, like a long hill stretch, and because it was like near like a farmland, and there was like, do you know the massive tractor tires?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What
You
we
didn't.
do
Did
is
you get? Did you get inside and roll down the hill?
not quite, not quite. Even more stupid. Right. What we'd do is we'd roll the tire all the way up the hill,
Mm-hmm.
and then one person would hold it, and then we'd all like sort of get ready to run, and we start running down the hill, and the person would let go of the tire and
Oh God.
see who it hit.
Oh God.
And if you didn't get hit, you won. If you did, then too bad for you.
It's survival of the fittest. Quite literally, you have to be very fit to win.
Exactly. Survival of the fittest. Can you imagine a bunch of 5-year-olds just running down the hill with a massive tire just rolling behind them?
I can
once
imagine.
It gets taken out.
I can imagine some guy walking by, seeing that happening, wondering, what on earth are these kids doing? Like, are they insane? But no, like when I was a kid, like I used to have friends that I have people that lived like down the street, on the same street as me, and what we used to do is like on the street where we lived is a butcher, and he used to come out. And when we were kids, like it was me, a friend called Christine, and a friend called Omar. And what we used to do is we'd sneak up to like his gate, and he'd know that we're there. Like he knew, and he'd come running out, going, "I'm gonna get you!" Like running out, like trying. Like it was like a game of chase. Like it was like
like a play sort of thing.
Yeah, it was like run away from the monster, like the bad guy. Like it was like a kid's game. Like, but then when I grew up, like when I first met when it first happened, I thought it was fun and all that, and then like it was like you didn't think about it as a kid, but then when you start to grow up, like it comes that realization that games like that, and like these days, games like that you can't really play anymore.
Yeah,
like
I mean, if you imagine like a free, like, how old were you back then?
We were only like 9 or 10. We were young kids.
Yeah, if you imagine like a free 9-year-olds just walking up to like a butcher's house now.
Yeah,
you'd think it's quite weird.
Yeah, like the thing was that it weren't his house; it was the shop. Like it was the back of the shop.
Oh,
like
right.
it weren't weird or anything. It weren't like that. It was just like a bit of fun, you know. Like he wouldn't come out like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you," like weird, like a weirdo, like most people think. Like, yeah, it was more like he knew all our parents. Like he knew everyone,
Yeah,
and he knew who we were. Like he knew he was. And after that, we used to do like the one thing I remember from a kid is we had game consoles and everything growing up. Like I was fortunate enough to have a lot of game consoles growing up. But like when you were a kid, you didn't really want to play game consoles.
I had the original Nintendo 64.
I remember when I had that. That was a good console. That's a console that I will say was good. But like when you were a kid, you don't really want to play games. So when you're a kid, you don't really want to play games, do you? You want to go outside and have fun. You want to play games. It's like when I was a kid, the most thing I wanted to do was I wanted to play role-playing games. I used to, me and the friends that I had out, and I think we used to play games like we used to pretend like with Doctor Who or with Power Rangers or something, just like like kid stuff and like stuff like that.
I remember those times. There was times where, because I used to watch a lot of anime, still do, we used to play with the kids around the block. We'd pretend we're like different characters from like Naruto or like Dragon Ball Z or something, and then we'd be going around just doing this, running. You
do really stupid stuff as your kids. Like I remember when I was a kid, I remember once where a load of our friends came together one day. It was round the block, around where we live, and we were basically playing a game where we basically picked a character from our favorite superhero film, and one person would be it basically be like a form of tag. Like one person would be like a bad guy, like a villain, and it basically be a game of tag. If they tag you, you're sent to the villain's secret trap lair, and someone has to untag you. And like I remember that happening once, and literally the whole block, like the parents and all that, were having like literally they'd watch because they'd love seeing like all the kids having fun, like realizing that they're just kids, like, and this world's not a nice place, but look at them, they're having a bit of fun. Like they're running around playing a game of tag in an area where, I'm not gonna lie, it's all roads. It's like a roadway. It's a private road. Barely any car. When cars came, we all moved to the side of the road and wait for them. But the thing is that
You'd always have that one grumpy neighbor, though.
Oh, don't.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean.
What I mean.
That one neighbor that would be like. That one neighbor that would be like.
Stop being so loud all the fucking time.
Yes, that one neighbor that come out.
Call your parents.
That one neighbor that come out and be like, "You shouldn't be playing here. This is a road. This is dangerous." And he'd be like, well, "We understand. We do understand, but this is the only area we can play."
We don't give a shit. We're not gonna get hit.
Like as a kid, we were like, "This is the only area we can play in. Like this is literally like." This was basically like a bubble. This is all we had because our park. We couldn't go to the park because at the time the park basically teenagers. There was problems at the time.
To be fair, you don't want to get hit in that. For one, as a kid.
Pretty much, in the area we played in was pretty safe. Like literally, we were right next to the flats. Literally, we could leg it and we could make it as far as we want within 10 seconds. Like even before the car could stop, we could leg it. But we had this one neighbor, and I don't remember her name, but she used to come. Because there's like blocks of flats, and she'd basically come out of her flat, and she would say, "You shouldn't be here. Stand here." And she'd line us up in a line, and she'd be like, "Right, I'm gonna go talk to your parents right now." And it'd be like she'd go to the first one of the parents, and they'd say, "Look, they're kids. They're outside. They're not causing problems. They're not in danger because cars don't rarely drive up here. And if they do, the cars know not to drive speedily because there's kids playing. They know that." And she goes, "Well, that's not the case." And then she moved to the next parent, and the next parent would say the exact same thing. Like, she wouldn't let up.
I think I was a bit of a little shit when I was young, because I remember that one specific time when we were like role playing as kids. And you know the show Lazy Town?
Yes.
I was role playing Spartacus, and I had an apple in my hands, and we were by like it's like a shop front, but it had like some stairs to go into the shop. And there's a guy that came out and then was telling us off that we were playing in front of the store front, obviously. And what I did, I screamed, I took a bite of the apple, I did the splits that he doesn't do there, jumped off the step, threw the apple at his face and ran. I was just such a little shit. I was such a little shit.
God, I wish I met you when you were in Bulgaria. That would have been fun. No, was that in Bulgaria? Or was that when you were in?
That was in Bulgaria, still.
Oh man, I wish I met you when you were in.
I had quite a lot of fun childhood memories in Bulgaria. I have a few here, but it's most of my childhood was mostly in Bulgaria. I gotta admit.
Like,
anyway.
It's one of them things, that I remember so many childhood memories when I was where I used to live, and a lot of the memories of like I remember where you won't remember this, but people listening might remember this. That back into, you probably heard of it, you probably know about it, but I don't think you know about the product I'm talking about. Do you remember the thing called Robot Wars?
Describe it to me.
So basically, people build electronic vehicle, mini little robot things, and then have weapons on them, and it'd be basically like a clash and you'd
Oh,
fight it.
right, on TV, like on TV. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
yeah, you might remember the program, but basically, a company, I can't remember what company it was, they brought out a life-size version of one of the robots.
Right.
And what you had to do was build it. Like you actually had to, you get to build your own like robot, like your own Robot Wars type robot. And I remember that when I was a kid, like that was one of the like I remember the day that my dad brought it for me, and I remember that me and him sit on the back doorstep and we would build it, and it was so much fun. Like I remember, like that's where I got my interest in like building stuff. Like everyone, like when people like get
Mhm.
interest from something, like I remember that. I remember running around when I was like 6, running around in a Sully from Monsters Inc. outfit, running around trying to scare my cousins when they came over for a birthday party and going, ah, and like stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like I remember a lot of that stuff when I was a kid. But that's the
Yeah.
stuff at the end of the day that shapes you, you know, like makes you who you are.
I mean, yeah, a lot of the stuff while you're a kid, like determines how you're gonna act as an adult. To be fair, because it's your early years are your impressionable years, so
They are.
you learn how to act from there on. Obviously you can learn to act differently while you're an adult, but while you're a kid, it's a lot easier to be taught how to do stuff and
It
how to
is. It's
act properly.
like an example of that, and it's very relevant today, especially in 2020. It's a very relevant topic. So I remember when I was a kid, and being honest, there weren't a wide majority of people from different cultures.
Hmm.
It was a lot of people from just a white English culture.
Yeah, very much
And
so.
that was when I was in like primary school. And then because I moved primary school quite a bit when I was younger, I moved from my first primary school to another one and then back to another one. But my first primary school, there weren't wide majorities. There was certain people from different cultures and everything, but it weren't like it is today where it's widespread. So a
Yeah.
lot of people that
Hmm.
I knew were racist. I am
Right.
not. I was not part of that group. I
Yeah.
am, but I don't
To be
believe.
fair, I did grow up around quite a few racist people in Bulgaria.
Unfortunately, it was.
But, I always ended up questioning it
So did I.
because I
When
don't.
I was,
As a kid, you don't think that person is different to me just because he's different color,
yeah, it's like when I was a kid.
different thing.
Like we included everyone. Like you wouldn't just sit there and be like, "Oh, you can't join in because you're from a different country." We wouldn't do that as kids. Like I had friends that are from Turkey, from Nigeria. I had friends from pretty much a lot of places around the world when I was a kid. Like you wouldn't sit there and be like, "Oh no, you can't be friends with me because you're from a certain country or you're certain religion." You don't think that as when you're a kid.
Certain area even.
And then
Yeah.
but then as I grow up, as I've grown up, you start to see, like when you're a kid, you're like it doesn't matter. But then as you start to grow up, you see that in this world, it still shouldn't matter. But unfortunately, in this world, people still say it matters, and I'm like, well, why does it?
What does it?
So why does it? Like,
Why?
end of the
Why would?
yeah, that's what I say. I'm like, well, end of the day, why does it matter if this person's from, say, Scotland and this person's from India?
Yeah, you're humans.
At the end of the day, we're
You're.
all the same. We're all living in a shitty world. This world is
Hmm.
shitty. We all live in the same shitty world. Why can't we all just get along? End of the
A lot of
day,
the time, yeah, I have like this. It's not like what do you call it? Not like like a principle.
yeah,
Um, don't judge someone on their looks. Judge them on their character.
yeah. Like I say, you don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, yeah. That's a better way of saying it. Yeah.
You
Well,
don't judge a book by its cover, but that's not really a term used for racism. That's more of someone's like,
No,
but it
it's
can
true.
be, but it's not. It's not really. I just say treat everyone
This
like you want to
concept
be
can be
treated.
applied anyway. Yeah,
I
yeah.
say treat everyone exactly the same. Like, if you want to be treated like an asshole, then if you're gonna treat people like an asshole, you're gonna be treated like one. But if you treat people with utmost respect, if you meet someone on the street that's older than you, you say sir or madam, or you say Mr. or Mrs. You'd be very polite, and they'll be polite back to you. But end of the day,
Depends who the person is, obviously.
yeah, it depends on who the person is. I'm not going to go up to a random guy and be like, Miss, unless they want to be called Miss.
Yeah, that's true. It just depends on how a person acts. I wouldn't judge a person until I know them.
Yeah, you know, I'm like,
and with even with like the whole big movement that's going on now, the Black Lives Matter.
yes,
it's a very strong movement.
It is,
and
I support the movement. It is a really good movement, and I believe in it. It's one of the movements where, like, I over the years, I've seen so many movements. I've seen movements for LGBT community. I've seen movements for rights for people who are homeless, rights for people who are rich, and I supported the people. I supported the LGBT community. I 100% believe in them. I think everyone should have equality. Doesn't matter about what sexual orientation they are. People who are poor, I think, should have a helping hand from the government. And like the Black Lives Matter community, I think that it shouldn't. They should be the people we should help first in this world, because end of the day, like they're saying in America,
reason why I mentioned movement,
it's like in America at the moment. It's like this whole thing started because a white police officer killed an African American. That shouldn't happen in the first place, being on it. That's the truth. It should never happen in the first place. No police officer should have killed an African American. Does not matter on if they said that he had a violent past. The guy that got unfortunately was murdered. That is what it was. They said that he was a violent person, and he was.
They're there to carry out justice, but not that kind when it's on the spot. They're there to arrest.
Yeah, they're supposed to follow the law.
To arrest him, but at the end of the day, they killed him, and it was before he was found guilty. That is the worst thing. That it also highlights police brutality, which is.
That's what I find sick with this world at the moment. And I do. It's everyone. It's like at the moment. It's one of them things, that, like, at the moment, like police officer, like this was not the first case of police brutality and stuff like that. It's just over the last couple months and let's say a year, they're saying that so many African Americans have been unlawfully arrested or have been murdered. There was even a story that I was watching on the news where someone reported someone had broken into a house, and a police officer shot in the house and killed an unarmed black African American woman. Shot her just dead. And the worst part was, it's our own home. She was at home, minding her own business. A police officer shouted out, saw someone move in the home, and shot.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the incident where it was her son that they were looking for, and they went in the house.
No, I don't. I think that's a different case.
It might be a different.
I think that's a different case.
What I'm thinking of is that they were looking for her son, and they went into the house. It was at night, so she didn't hear them knocking. So they entered the house, and she was sleeping. But because they thought it was the son, they shot the person that was sleeping.
I think that's a different case. I think that's a similar case, but different, unfortunately. Yeah. But there's not at the moment.
there's a lot of like how police is doing things wrong, and I think that people who don't recognize it, it's quite delusional, and they're part of the problem, because not recognizing it is like, or denying it is like allowing it to happen.
Hmm.
Is the same sort of thing.
Yeah, it is, because if you deny that it's happening, then how can we solve the problem that
Even
it
though it
is?
blatantly is.
Yeah, it's like there's
Even though
people.
it blatantly.
Yeah, it's like there's people over here that says, "Oh, that wouldn't happen over here," when
Yeah.
it clearly does. It happens over here. Like it happens, you know. Like there's a story that I was reading on the news yesterday in which a teenager has been stopped 5 times over the last 4 days by police officers,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there thinking, why has this team been pulled over 5 times in the last 4 days? And the kid was smart enough, and I've got to give it to him, decided to record the incident. And the police officer,
Yeah.
and
It's
they showed the footage, and it literally shows kid riding his bike down a street normally, and then all of a sudden a cop car, we don't even know if it was a car pulls over, people wearing police uniform just say, right, get against the wall, not identifying themselves, just coming over, and he says, why are you harassing me? This is now the 5th time police officers have pulled me over, and then they make up the excuse of, oh, you smell of cannabis. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, but that's a very generic excuse to pull someone over. They handcuffed him,
yeah.
and then they searched him, and they released him. And the grounds they said was
Yeah.
the intent of having cannabis on him.
It was like supply sort of thing.
No, not even supplying. Apparently, it was just because they smelt cannabis. Now,
Yeah. The possession of that cannabis.
yeah,
Sorry, my bad.
and end of the day, if it's for personal use, I'm not too. I don't believe in drugs, but end of the day, if it's for personal use, I'm not too fussy. I'm like, if you're going to do it,
Recreational.
yeah,
I think
if it's
alright.
just for yourself, I'm not too
And
worried.
medical.
Yeah, I'm not too worried because end of the day, it's not going to affect me. It doesn't bother me. But if you're going to deal with to people, then
Hello?
that's where I get a problem. Oh, have you paused?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Went there for a little bit.
Yep. But no. Yeah. Like this kid, and the police just say, "Oh, it's normal," and I'm like, it shouldn't be the norm. You should not be training police officers to pull over a young black child and say you're
Based on
based on his color of his skin.
because
Like it wouldn't be fair. Like being honest, in a situation, if me and you were walking down the street and a police officer pulls us over, unfortunately, statistically, it's more likely you're going to be searched than me. That's unfortunately, statistically, unfortunately.
I do have stories where I actually haven't, but from when I used to live in Southeast London,
Mm-hmm.
then I used to hang out with a group of black kids, and that was the norm, you know. But there has been times where we've been walking down the high street, just going to get on the way back from school, and we've been stopped. Right, this officer searched the other 3 boys that I was with, but not me. All 3 of them were black, but I was not. I know people say it shouldn't draw conclusions, but when I was dressed the exact same as them, wearing a bag, and they were as well, and the only difference is our skin tone
Then
between us, and
unfortunately,
they searched them, not me. Unfortunately, you have to draw that conclusion because there isn't any other reason.
Yeah. I hate it when people say don't draw conclusions unless you know all the facts. Well, unfortunately, in situations like that, You're in a situation where you're with 3 other friends. They get
It's
stopped and
putting two and two
searched.
together sort
Yeah,
of thing.
they get searched, but you don't. The only difference is the color of your skin. That should not happen at all. It doesn't matter at all. It's like I've been told by someone, a member of the public, that this was a really weird moment of my life. I was walking down the street. Some random woman comes up to me and tells me I look like a terrorist.
I've had that actually when
I've been
when
told.
I grew out a beard.
I've been
I
told that
used to
I
look,
look like a terrorist because as you can tell on camera, that I have a big beard. Unfortunately, that's
yeah.
me. I'm Scottish. I'm part Scottish. That is my heritage, and I like big beards. But the problem is that this woman came up to me and said I look like a terrorist, and I said to her, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "With your big beard." I'm like, "But that's not at all what that just doesn't make sense." And then she said, "Oh, all
Yeah,
the
you've got
terrorists
a big
I've
beard, I
seen
mean,
have big beards," and I'm like, "But that's a stereotype. Like, it
yeah.
a terrorist is not like a person doesn't go, do you know what? I'm a terrorist because I have a beard."
Yeah, my problem with that is the mentality of if they think it, then they would think it if in a serious case as well.
Yeah, like
So, say if a person was arrested because there was suspicion of terrorism and they did look like they had a big beard, big black beard, and the stereotypical like
yeah,
dark toned skin, and in that situation, that person would think they're guilty because they look like it,
yeah,
and that's not right.
that's not it. It's one of them things that stereotyping. This is where it gets very hard in life because
Stereotyping, prejudice,
yeah, because then you've got the
discrimination.
examples of entertainment purposes.
Yeah,
Let's give you an
I do think
example.
there is a difference between yeah
There is a difference, but I'll give you
entertainment
an
and
example. What you said that a
hmm,
person would feel bad in Family Guy. There's an episode
yeah
where Stewie goes to Afghanistan to fight Osama bin Laden, and everyone in the cave is a very stereotypical. They say a stereotypical terrorist in the sense of they say they have big beards,
hmm,
they have a darker skin tone, and they wear certain outfits.
hmm,
When that came out, it weren't when that first came out, that wasn't a problem. Like people would laugh at it. But if they released that episode
but
today,
recently, like
do you
a
think people would
few
laugh
years ago.
at it?
Thing is with me, I think that something that Family Guy does, because they do create content on quite a lot of controversial topics,
And
but I think they do it
that's why
right
we all love
because
them.
they do the delivery correctly.
Yeah,
Because a lot of the things that they do is so stupid, it's so ridiculous that you can't help but laugh at it, and it's not like they're making fun of it because
it's
to
like they're not doing it
to
maliciously.
this it's more to shed light at the same time.
Yeah, and they're not doing it
It's
maliciously.
like to
They're not.
show how ridiculous it seems.
Yeah,
It's
and they're
so
not.
exaggerated that it kind of have to think, oh, it's just ridiculous, you know.
Yeah, I know it's not malicious. It's not like they're going out to deliberately like hurt people by what they do. It's like an example is that it's a very famous incident. Is that they did an episode where Stewie and Brian time travel, and Brian goes back in time to the first episode of Family Guy that was set in
Yeah,
1999 and tells the first version of Brian about the Twin Towers incident, the 9/11.
yeah,
And in the episode, Brian stops 9/11 happening and it alters the timeline and it makes it bad. So they go back and basically stop Brian telling Brian about the incident. They go back to their time, and there's a famous bit where Stewie goes, "Oh yes, everything's back to normal. We caused 9/11."
Yeah.
A lot of people got offended by that. A lot of people saying that was sickening and all that. I understand it can offend some people because it was it was one of the most horrible things to ever happen. But it was not done in a malicious way.
Yeah.
It was done in a story plot way. It was done in the sense of that it was with the story. It made sense in the sense of that it changed the timeline and they had to put the timeline right.
Yeah. I think with comedy especially, it's like it also matters a big part of how it goes, of how it's is how it's seen is the target, is the audience. Like if I wouldn't like go into a church and start screaming, "Oh, God is bullshit," you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's not the right medium. It's not the right place to sort of.
There's certain places where you can discuss topics like Family Guy. They discuss the topic of terrorism, stuff like that, and they try and make a light out of it. You know, like they try and make it like they're not trying to make like it seem like, oh, it's a good thing, but they try and basically take the piss out of it. So it just makes you feel.
I mean, have a look at South Park as well.
Oh, South Park.
That's so ridiculous.
South Park is just full of racist, crude, homophobic. It's full of that stuff. Even the funny thing is that a lot of programs are being cancelled because of racism, sexism, homophobic, transphobic stuff. Have they not found South Park yet?
I don't think so, no.
South Park is full of it, and I mean full of it.
Yeah.
But no, but you know what? One of the funny things about this whole situation with Family Guy is that Seth MacFarlane was supposed to be on the plane that crashed into one of the Twin Towers.
Was it?
Yeah. The creator of Family Guy was supposed to be on the first plane that crashed into the Twin Towers.
Well, that's quite lucky.
That is a weird thing. So the story is he says himself, is that the night before he's supposed to catch his flight, he got hammered. He got wasted. He woke up late.
Yeah.
His agent cocked up his travel arrangements to get to the airport. He arrived 20 minutes late. The plane was already basically taken off. By the time he got
conclusion you draw, the conclusion I draw out of that is good to have a drink. That's why drinking is good.
By the end of the whole situation, he was late to the gate by 5 minutes. 5 minutes. If he was there 5 minutes earlier, he would have got onto the plane. He would have died. That's one of the things that Seth MacFarlane can take from it. The creator of the Family Guy that makes he can, in a sense, he can make the joke because he could have been one of them people on the plane.
You know what? As well, it's when people say like because you're not part of a certain group, you can't talk about the issues of the group or issues regarding the group. That really annoys me because that rather than unifying people, that just divides them more. And also, who are you to say to a person that they can't speak on the issues when, especially when they're trying to help?
It's like there's people over here that talk like there was an incident. I think you remember the incident because it was all over the news. Do you remember the Lee Rigby incident?
I think so, yeah.
Where an officer was walking down the street and he was attacked by two people with
with
two large machetes and was basically murdered.
Soldier guy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What's annoying is that the difference between England and America at the moment is that if English people talk about incidents that's happening in America right now, Americans don't like it. So when an English person talks
I
about,
yeah.
it's like when an English
I,
person talks about incident happening in America right now, the George, I can't pronounce his name. Is it Floyd or Floyd? George Floyd. Floyd. Everyone in the UK talks about that incident and says that was the most disgusting thing, and that the people involved should be prosecuted and charged on first-degree murder. Everyone agrees that over in the UK.
Mhm.
Everyone agrees with that.
There's a lot of people. There is a lot of white supremacists and such that don't, and that's the people that just the problem, you know.
The majority of actual English people that actually are united.
Yeah, but, the people that pro.
Yeah, and
yeah,
and they don't like it. They hate it that we talk about it because they say that we weren't involved. It was none of our business, stuff like that. But then when people over there start talking about the Lee Rigby incident, we don't get offended. We openly say this was a disgusting thing, and everyone needs to know about it. That's the difference. Is that at the moment the UK we're more open. Like we're not forcibly open. We're just naturally open. We just talk about everything that goes wrong in our country. The only thing recently that we haven't been talking about is racism within the police force. That has been a thing that has been quiet for a while. It hasn't been an active talking conversation since the mid-2000s. No.
Yeah.
The last time that it was an openly... No, the last time it was an we openly talked about racism within police force was 2012, the London riots.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last time the UK were openly talking about, well, everyone in the UK were talking about police brutality and police racism and profiling. That was the last time the UK talked about it. And when you think about it, right, that's 2012. We're in 2020. That was over 8 years ago. 8 years is taking everyone to start talking about it again. That is ridiculous.
On a more happy note, I was at the London protest for Black Lives Matter.
Oh, how were they? I couldn't make them because of my dad, because of him being in lockdown.
Yeah.
But how were they?
Issues. It was beautiful to see because it wasn't just Black people that were there to support them. That's what was good to see. It was heartwarming to see that there was people of Black communities, white community. There was people of Asian community. Oh, there was a couple of Pakistani people that I talked to as well. There's so many different cultures joining forces to fight for one cause, and that's what I think is important about the movement because it's unifying people.
It's a really good thing. Like when I was watching, I watched your Facebook posts about when you were at the pro, and it made me cry because I was so happy to see that everyone had come together. Everyone was like united. Like no one was standing there like going, "Oh, this is point." Everyone was there marching together, saying that Black lives matter. It doesn't matter by the color of the skin; they matter.
Yeah,
and it's just beautiful to see. Like it made you feel like it makes you feel proud to be British and to be part of a group of people.
It makes you proud to be human. In fact, actually,
yeah,
I think it makes you proud that there is actually hope for humanity.
Yeah, there's not. It's not just
because
it's not just
hateful people.
Yeah, it's not
don't
just
give a shit about the world.
Yeah, it's not.
There is
it's not
people
just
that
one person.
About. Yeah.
It's not just that one person sitting down the street shouting, "We know it should be that." It's like all the protests across Britain was amazing.
1,000 people.
there weren't a lot of police brutality. A lot of police, apparently, I don't know if this is true, but most of the protests were very calm.
But just, they started off calm, but towards the end of the protest, when people started getting tired and rowdy, that's when things fucked up. And when the people who were calm about it and who actually wanted peaceful protests were leaving, the ones that a few bad eggs stayed, and they would start attacking the police and throwing shit at them and the horses and stuff like that. I really don't support the whole violence and the rioting. That's just, you can't fight violence with violence, because that's just going to breed more violence.
It's one of the things, you know, that I sit there and I look and I see that it seems like there's two groups in this. I think there's the actual people that actually care about this situation, and then there's people that go there that don't care about the situation and they're just to cause havoc.
Yeah, I think there is a third group though. I think there is the people that do care about the situation but do think rioting is a valid option. And that is, I think, in my opinion, is more dangerous.
It is. Like I understand. Like I'm going to admit I am white and privileged because I've not been stopped by the police because of my color of my skin. I've walked past multiple police officers. Being honest, I've looked suspicious. I've had my hood up. I have a big rucksack on my back. I have looked the most suspicious. I've looked suspicious when transport police have got onto a train and I'm carrying a rucksack and I'm carrying a box. I looked.
Is that?
I looked. I am not going to lie. I looked. I even said to my ex-partner, I looked so suspicious. I looked. If my skin was a different color, I would have been chucked off the train and I've been arrested as fast as you can say what. But just because the color of my skin, police officers have not done anything to me, and I sit there and I sit there and think to myself, well, what I had was for my college project. What happens if someone the exact same as me had a college project and had a big box, but just had a darker skin tone than me? What would have happened to them?
Well, statistically speaking, a lot of black people, darker skinned people, in fact, the different cultures get marked down more than white people do. And that the thing is that people say it doesn't exist. It's statistics that show this. It's hard proof evidence.
Like what pisses me off is when people say, "Oh, there's no proof of it," and I'm like, you do realize when they say statistically, they have done polls, they have done research, they have done it. It's not.
I do understand there is. Yeah, I do understand there is like uncredible sources, but it's also educating yourself on the topic with sources that are credible. That's important. You need, if you're going to speak on a topic, just make sure you know the ins and outs about it. Obviously you can't always know everything about a topic, but at least be open to a conversation rather than be all belligerent about it.
Yeah, I don't believe like me. If I don't know the whole conversation, like when being honest, like the George Floyd incident, I did not know 100% of the details. I looked it up. I talked to you about it because you knew a lot about the ins and outs of it. And at the end of the day,
yeah. As soon as I heard about it, I started reading.
Like it's reading up about it. It's going online, reading the news articles, and it's just learning about it instead of just sitting there and saying, "Oh, I don't know this, I don't know that." If you don't know it, look it up. Educate yourself, because in life, if you just sit there,
especially if you're disagreeing with it. Because if you're disagreeing with the movement, or actually, in fact, even if you're agreeing with the movement, you need to know what you're disagreeing and agreeing with.
It's like, unfortunately, I know certain people in my life, unfortunately, that are racist, and me and Doncho know this exact same person. We're not going to say his name because
Yeah,
if
I said the name.
then we can get in a lot of trouble because it's called assassination of character. It's a lot of complication. But the point is, this person, I'm not going to lie, he posts a lot of racist stuff saying about that the whole movement doesn't matter and it's all lives matter. That's the one thing that pissed me off the most during this whole thing is all lives matter. Is that all lives matter?
You know, Scott, your wife comes up to you, and then she says, "Honey, do you love me?" And then you're like, "Oh, honey, but I love everyone."
Yeah.
How ridiculous does that sound?
Like, if that happened in a relationship, that I got to my wife and go, "Hey, honey, do you love me?" And she go, "I love everyone." I'd be like, "Are you sleeping around with people?"
It's more, yeah. The whole Black Matters movement isn't to take away from the fact that all lives do matter, but all lives don't matter until Black Lives Matter too. Because at the moment, it's Black lives are in danger, as well as others, obviously. But it's the issue we're focusing on at this precise moment.
It is. It's
annoying. I don't understand.
It's like people just. It's like a list, right? That at the top of the list, it's Black Lives Matter. And once the situation's resolved where Black lives are not being killed and not being treated like a second-class citizen, and they're treated exactly the same, until everyone's treated the same, this protest will continue. And then I believe after, and then I believe after this situation, and hopefully will resolve, then it will be Asians' lives matter, because a lot of people from the Asian continents are treated bad as well.
Yeah, and a lot of Muslims get a lot of hate.
Everyone needs to work together to solve. People say all lives matter. Unfortunately, everyone does matter. Yes, everyone does matter, but unfortunately, the biggest part of the whole of everyone being together, the biggest part that's being destroyed at the moment is the Black community. They're the ones, unfortunately, being targeted by police brutality, racism, stuff like that. And I find that disgusting. Everyone should be treated exactly the same. Yeah. But we're going to go into some lighter topic now. I have found a list. I found the list of ridiculous British laws.
Have you?
Yes. Are we ready? This is from the site called the fun site, the fact site. Number 1, it is illegal to enter the Houses of Parliament wearing a suit of armour. This
Does it have consequences?
No, this was a 1313 law which forbids any member of Parliament or anyone walking into the House of Parliament from wearing armour. This was put in during political Trump. This is when a lot of political drama was going on. Number 2. Yeah. Now this one I find this flipping ridiculous because as someone of Scottish heritage, I find this really annoying. It is legal to shoot a Scotsman under certain circumstances.
Oh, right, yeah.
Only in York, the law states that it is legal to shoot a Scotsman with a crossbow upon seeing one, except for Sundays. So if I go to York, someone could shoot me with a crossbow and it'd be perfectly legal.
All right.
I'm not going to York. I am not going to York. However, any Scotsman... Oh, hang on.
Where was it? It was somewhere in England, was it? Was it that you can't actually be drunk in pubs?
That is Ireland, I believe.
Ireland.
I think However, any Scotsman
Go,
caught this is fun. Any Scotsman caught drunk or with a weapon can still be shot on a Sunday, except with a crossman. So basically, they're saying that any day of except Sunday, Scotsman can be shot, except Sunday. But on Sundays, if the Scotsman is drunk or caught with a weapon, anyone can kill the Scotsman with any weapon of their choice, except a crossbow. I am 100% not going to York now. I was thinking about going up there for a vacation. Nah.
Yeah. Go up to York for
Number 3.
Nice weekend. Get shot with a cross.
Number 3. It is treason to misplace a postage stamp.
Really?
Yes, placing a postage stamp bearing the monarch's head upside down on an envelope is considered an act of treason.
Well, I've betrayed England quite a lot then.
Number 4. It is illegal to gamble in a library.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really
funny.
Number 5. Trespassing is okay for certain people. Trespassing is illegal.
What do certain people include?
That's what I'm about to find out. Trespassing is illegal except by the Honours and Burkes. An act of 1603 comes from an ancient custom in Cornwall. People known as Hurls and Bookers, who stand on the cliffs and shout to fishing boats, directing them towards schools of fish. So basically, anyone that helps fishermen direct people to fish can trespass on land, and they can't get arrested for it. Now,
luckily, that's conditional again.
Now, this is a real weird one. Number 6. It is against the law to shake a carpet.
Oh yeah, it was against the law to shake carpet in public. There was a thing where you can't walk barefoot within 100 yards of the Queen.
Give me a second. My phone's about to die. Just grab the charger. Grab the charger.
Hey, I think we should start playing Yu-Gi-Oh in a bit.
Yes. What shall? Just give me a second. Otherwise, my internet will go. And if my internet goes, this podcast is over.
It is over.
It'll be over before we can say anything. Because my Wi-Fi at home is not strong enough, so I'm having to use my mobile Wi-Fi. There we go. All right. Let's move the mic a bit. Oh. Let me just set up my deck, because I've not been setting up my deck. I've been talking.
Yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to after this lockdown?
Honestly, I want to meet up with people and go to a pub. I want to go out. I've been stuck inside for so long. I just want to go out. But I do, yeah. Mostly, I look forward to meeting like people who I haven't seen in a while.
I know what you feel.
It doesn't have to be going out, yeah.
Like you sit there and like it's okay for a while to be by yourself, but then it comes to that part where you're like, all right, I want to go out now. I want to see people. I want to have fun. I want to do stuff.
It's because I do have an introvert side, but I'm like an ambivert, where it's like I have an introvert but an extrovert side as well.
Oh no, I prefer.
I like going out. I
prefer to stay indoors. I'm that type of person. I'd rather be tucked up in my bed watching a TV series.
For me, I'd enjoy a night out, but also I'd happily sit at home binging something on Netflix with a popcorn bowl.
Yeah, it's always good to have both sides. Like, it's always good to go outside. It's always good to actually do stuff. It's like I've learned that. Like, I go back to work in the next couple of days. means I go back into the real world. Basically go back into the real world, and I'm not indoors anymore. I have to go out, and I have to learn that's life. Unfortunately, I have to go back outside because I have to work.
Fortunately, yeah.
It's one of them things, you know. I'm not going to lie. I am shit scaredless to go out. I am fucking shit scaredless. But I have to come to realization that I have to continue life, because if we all stay in lockdown and stay stuck indoors, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Right. I have prepared a few decks for today, and I will let you choose your fortune.
Oh, my fortune.
But I have a spellcaster deck here that I would like to use, or a dragon deck,
Ooh.
or a warrior deck, or a water deck. Also, with cards that we've got, we do have some banned cards. We're just playing for fun. It's not really like a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament sort of thing.
Well, I don't know how much time we've got left. Seeing how long we've got left to record. We've got about half an hour, so we're going to have to make this fast-paced.
That'll be enough for a duel, I guess. Let's try. Let's do that then.
Let's try. Let's try.
Fast-paced duel.
I'm going to try and build a deck as best as I can, as fast as I can.
For fast-paced duel, it will be either my dragon deck or my spellcaster deck.
Let's go for your spellcaster deck.
Spellcaster. Okay. Oh, like, I hate it when I'm shuffling my cards and they just go flying everywhere. I'm not shuffling properly.
I've got exactly 60 cards.
60.
How many do you have?
Let me have a look.
I will have now 62 because I've added 2 extra cards. I know that there's a limit of usually. How many do you have?
I have exactly 80.
Jeez.
I'm exactly on the limit.
No, the limit's 60.
No, it's 40 to 80.
It's 40 to 60.
You can have 40 to 80.
40 to 60. Have a look online. It's 40 to 60.
Is it?
Yeah, it's 40 to 60.
Well,
but you play with that deck. It doesn't bother me. This is only for a bit of fun. So
in that case, I will switch to my dragon deck because it's a lot less cards.
Have I just chucked? I've just chucked all. Oh God, I'm an idiot. I am an idiot.
Yeah.
Just chucked. Fair enough. No, I just chucked all my fusion cards into the non-used deck, and I was like, I need them.
Mine's 69. Still.
That's fine. We'll just make this a quick duel. Then the next podcast we'll do a bigger one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my bottom card is Alexandrian Dragon.
Okay.
That's 2,000 attack points.
I really need to shuffle these cards because I'm not shuffling them greatly. So, yeah, I think, like, you know, like, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like a great game for people because it brings people together.
Yeah, I do as well. I used to play it a lot as a kid.
I
like,
did.
A lot.
Like, I used to have one of them one of the dual discs. I used to have one of them.
Yeah.
And so much fun. Like, come on, what's your favorite card?
Favorite card? I can show it to you right now, actually. Try and guess.
Dark Magician.
Karibo.
Karibo.
little furball.
Like, mine's a joint place. I like Dark Magician. I love the Dark Magician card. I love it. And it's Wing Karibo.
Yeah.
I love Wing Karibo. He's so cute and adorable. And he reminds me, like, I remember the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX where I think it's Cade. Is it Caden? Jaden bumps into Yugi and Yugi gives him that exact card. And I'm like, ooh. So it's just one of them moments, you know. Just give me a second.
It's quite funny to think that Yugi's...
Just give me a second.
What sauce do you want me to put? Right, do you want any beans?
No, thank you. Can you just put it in the microwave, please? Thank you. Sorry about that.
What?
Someone talking to me about my lovely studio.
Yeah, I've got my lovely studio set up as well. I've literally got a box on top of a box to hold my phone up. So,
no, luckily, I was given a desk because I used to have I used to have a massive big PC. Like,
well, I've got a desk, but it's not here. It's at my uni house. So,
but this podcast will be continuous. If he can, are you going to continue doing it with me?
Yeah, of course. Whenever you want to call me in, I'll do the podcast with you.
Yes, because I've tried to do this. I've been trying to do this podcast for a while. Like, I used to like the 413 podcast is a podcast.
I've always liked it.
It's always like I've been wanting to do podcasts. Like, I did a podcast basically when I was doing UAL at college, and we had to do reflections. The stuff of nightmares. Literally, you have to sit and talk about what you did right and wrong. And I mean, they prefer you to tell you what they prefer you to tell them what you did wrong.
Wrong, then right.
Yeah, you had to sit there and explain everything you did wrong. And that was the worst part because you had to sit there and say, okay, I cocked up on this. And
I fucked up.
Yeah.
I fucked up there. Then they can mark you down for fucking up.
They basically tell you, oh yeah, you fucked up here. And you'd be like, okay, here's an A. Here's an A. You're like, ugh. But no, they basically, I could never, they always said you had to do it written or like video. And I was like, I can't do both. I don't like talking to a camera much. And I don't like writing. And I said, why don't I do a podcast? Like, I'll do like a podcast style talk thing. Like, I'll be chatting about it. And I did that. And I did that with my ex. Yeah. We went to the same college, the same course. It was messy. But the point is, we did it together. Yeah. It's one of them things where you're like, ooh, that's a really messy situation. That's a different story for a different podcast.
Different story, different day.
Yeah, but the point is, I always want to do podcasts and I always find them fun. And it was finding the right person to do it with. Like, I've done it with many different people and it never worked out. But doing it with Doncho, he is a great person to do podcasts with because he's open and he's honest.
You found the person to do one with.
Yes, you're open and honest.
Yeah.
It's better than most people. Most people
I'm a-
prefer to.
don't have a filter.
Well, no, most people prefer to like exaggerate. You know what I mean? They like to make themselves bigger. Like they make them a bigger character.
I just say it how it is.
Yeah, like the person I tried to do it before, he made it very dramatic, and I was like, "This is not an audiobook. If this was an audiobook, I'd be saying, welcome to Audible. This is your new audiobook called Exaggerations."
I mean, if anyone has any ideas for topics that we can talk about, they're welcome to.
Yes, please leave a comment down below. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and I think I'm going to upload this to Spotify as well.
Can do, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to upload this to Spotify.
Maybe, well,
where?
Wherever you can.
Yeah, wherever I can.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. I'll basically what I'll do is I'll put a link. I'll put a link on my Facebook. Doncho put a link on his Facebook, if you don't mind, because this is your podcast as well. It's not just mine. You are now officially co-host.
Co-host, right?
Co-host.
I'm a proud co-host of
the 413 podcast.
We need to name this podcast.
It's the 413 podcast. Yeah, we'll call it that. We'll call it 413. But basically, what we'll do is that's the title for now. We'll ask you to leave a name down in the comments below. Give us suggestions of names of the podcast, because I am completely bad at making names. Like, I remember I named a play once. I called it "The Story of How My Mother Became My Mother." That's a true story. I wrote a play about how a woman became the mother of the narrator.
Nice.
It was so bad that I had to rip it up. Like
it's very descriptive.
It is basically like Doncho is an art student. He is an artist. I'm probably gonna end up seeing one of his. I'm probably gonna end up seeing one of his art pieces in a museum, not a museum, an art gallery. It's like,
yeah, but every artist out there, when you mention their
art
work
galleries,
and
they're like,
if you compliment them, they're like,
it's like,
no.
I'm a filmmaker. I write and direct films. I love it, but I hate it at the same time, because when people see, I know how you feel. Like when people see your work and you sit there and go, it's the most, like, I remember I did a horror film and people were saying it's amazing, they loved it, and I'm just like, it is the most cringe-worthy pieces of it's like, I saw my own work and I was like, this is so cringy.
Because I can see what's wrong with it that people can't see.
It's
because
like,
I know that it's there. I don't.
It's like I did an animation for one of my projects, and
I animation at the moment, so quite similar. Yes.
So I did an animation, and I did it in a 3D model. So I try to do it like you know these proper 3D animation companies that make proper like 3D animations.
Yeah.
I try to do one of them.
CGI.
Yeah, and people said it was amazing. It was like I was the first in the college to do it, like first in the history of the college to actually to do a 3D animation by themselves. Yeah, by myself. Like I didn't get taught how to do it. I just learned how to do it.
Lucky that I didn't do a 3D animation for my project, because I had the decision between doing a CGI animation and a 2D animation, and I ended up doing the 2D animation.
I find look, being honest, right, 3D animations are all fun and everything, but the more fun ones are 2D animations. I've got a story for you.
I do agree.
I came up, right, this was when I was in level 2. I came up with a story, a project, and it was basically, do you remember the plague masks from the proper plague masks?
Yeah.
So what I did is I came up with a story about a serial killer. Yeah, I came up with a story about a serial killer that wore one. He wore a top hat, a trench coat, and he wore one. And it was like, it was a great idea. No, but attack women.
Jack the Ripper.
Like a Jack the Ripper, but in modern times. And I named it. I came up with the whole story. I came up with a background. I came up with about how he's a teenager and he was bullied by girls at high school, being called a dumbass, being basically told he's thick, he'll never get a girl. It's been really mean to him, and he snapped and went on a killing spree. And like he's distantly related to Jack the Ripper. Like one of his ancestor was Jack the Ripper. Like I came up with the whole story arc and how to do it. Then it was stolen from me.
Have any kids. I don't think he has any kids.
No,
right?
no, it was fiction. You know, it was fictional.
Yeah. Obviously,
But my story was stolen from. Well, not stolen, but someone basically. I was in a group that was doing the idea. I got moved to another group, and they went, we're going to continue doing his idea," and they took all the credit for it. And I was like, I spent months working on that idea, and it got stolen from me.
Yeah, you should have done it in your own.
But no, the thing was though, nicely, one of the group members, his name's Vinny. He's a really good guy. He credited me. He said, "Created by and story by," and he gave me the story and created. He put my name down, and it was like I was happy. Like I weren't too upset. Like it weren't like the end of the world stuff. Like I'm not going to sit there and cry. But right, let's move the mic a little bit. Right, first let's play.
Right,
2,400.
Card is 2,000. Mine was 2,000.
2,400.
So you start.
Okay.
So you start.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I have an interesting hand.
So do I. I place Red Eyes Black Chick on the field in defense mode.
Yeah.
I play 2 cards face down in the spell trap zone. Then I play card Destruction. For people that don't know what card Destruction is, it basically means me and Doncho have to get rid of the hands we have and draw a new set of cards. So I have to draw 3 new cards.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to the graveyard, and I draw 5.
And I will end my turn.
You really messed me up there, actually.
Did I?
A little bit, actually, yeah.
Let's move them. Oh God, I've got to move the mic. There we go.
Well, you're gonna. Okay. Do you have any set spell trap cards by any chance?
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna activate Giant Trunade.
And they go back to my hand.
Yeah, what that does is all spell trap cards go back from the field to the hand. To Anna's hands. So now I play Symbol of Duty. What Symbol of Duty does is I send one normal monster I control to the graveyard. It should be Baby Dragon. And then I can target one monster in either player's graveyard and special summon it. And if I do, I have to equip this card to it. And if it's destroyed, I need to destroy this card. Now, when you played card Destruction, what it did is it sent one monster in my graveyard. Guess which monster that is?
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Blue Eyes White Dragon. That goes to the field. And now I will play Monarch, March of the Monarchs. What it does is any attributed monster that is played cannot be destroyed by card effects. Okay? And also, I can't special summon monsters from my extra deck while that card is in play. Okay? So, with Blue Eyes White Dragon, I will attack your Red Eyes Black Chick.
That's fine. It goes to the grave.
And I will end my turn.
Okay, I draw a card. I play Swords Revealing Light, which means he can't attack for 3 turns. Then I play. I can never pronounce this. I'll just show you instead. I'll show the camera instead. Jar of Avarice. Which base? Oh, I'd play that on the field. I can't activate it until the next turn.
You just let me know what your card is.
That's fine. Then I play Time Wizard.
Okay, that's going to be interesting.
So do you have
to activate as a?
I will activate its effect. Do you have a coin with you?
I do not at the moment.
Right, I've got a coin. I've got a coin. I've got one here.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Ready? Call
Heads.
it. It's heads.
Heads. Okay, so your monsters get destroyed.
And the only monsters on the field was Time Wizard.
Time Wizard.
That was all that was on the field.
Okay, so what is your move now?
I will play Blast Magician in attack mode, and I'll end my turn.
You already played.
Let's see what many people. I'm not great at it. I just love playing it, but I'm not great at it.
It's all right. You'll have our ups and downs.
So I end my turn.
I set monster. I
activate my trap card, which allows me to bring back 5 cards from my grave back to my deck and shuffle and grab 1. Oh, and exactly 5 cards in my grave. And I draw 1. So it's your turn. Continue your turn.
I draw a card. I set another monster. And I would have to end my turn because I cannot attack due to sort of villain light, isn't it?
Okay, yep. I draw a card. This chair does not get comfortable over time. It gets uncomfortable. Okay. I play Garfield, the Iron Knight in attack mode. I set a card face down and spell a trap zone, and I'm going to attack you with Gear 3, the Iron Knight.
What monster are you going to attack? I have 2 face down monsters.
I will attack the one on your right.
On my right, this side.
Yeah.
You sent to the graveyard the White Stone of Legend.
Mm-hmm.
When this card is sent to the graveyard, I get to add 1 Blue Eyes monster. In fact, 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from my deck to my hand. And I will do exactly that. Look at this sweet baby. Okay. Is it your turn? The end of your turn, sir.
I am my turn, so I've got 1 more before. But unfortunately, that is all the time we've got for the podcast today, unfortunately. It is all the time we've got.
I just drew the card I needed.
Look, we have to end the recording, but we'll let you know in the next episode who won, because we are going to continue. And then we'll let you know who. Yeah, he'll end up beating my ass. We'll let you know who won, and then we'll actually have a full game on the next podcast. So this has been Scott.
Yeah.
You gonna say goodbye?
And Doncho.
And we'll see you in the next podcast.
And Doncho. Yeah. You can check me out on TikTok.
Yes, he has his TikTok. Yeah. Is it at Doncheese?
It's Doncheese, yeah.
Is that
capital D? E on the end.
Yeah, it's at Don Cheese. You can find me on TikTok. It's at ScottKnight413. So go follow us on TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, comment about what name we should have for the podcast, because at the moment we're just known as the 413 Podcast. And comment on topics that we want to do.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
See you guys in the next podcast. Bye-bye.
Everything. Bye-bye.